Welcome to the Level Ground Podcast. College and young adult life can be difficult, especially when you are faced with situations and ideas that go against Christian beliefs. Our goal is to help support you through these obstacles and guide you on how to approach different situations in scripturally based, Christ-honoring way.
Following Jesus is extremely rewarding, but can often be difficult. So our podcast is here to help you find some level ground. What's going on?
Welcome to the Level Ground Podcast, everybody. The world's first explicit Christian podcast.
Not quite. Not
Just
quite.
kidding.
Not quite. But hey, we did it. We finally got it figured out. We got it set up. We're rolling with two different mics, which
After
is fine.
2 weeks.
Yes, we have figured it out. We are recording episode 1 right now. It is Sunday, July 24th. I am so excited.
Me too. I spent a week getting destroyed by middle schoolers at summer camp, so
Hey.
I'm just glad to be back and recording our first episode.
Yeah, tell us about the rolled ankle. What happened there?
Oh my gosh. So I was a camp counselor for a bunch of middle schoolers, right? The kids at my church. And, I was having a great time, but the first full day we were there, I was playing flag football against a bunch of middle schoolers, and I stepped in a pothole and I just destroyed my ankle. And
Pulled a round tree.
Yeah, literally. And it was like all purple. Like I have a great picture of it, but yeah, it was like a golf ball size just swelling. And I was like, dang, if I were to poke this thing, it would just explode. Just
Yikes.
Pus and blood everywhere, Just
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
That is good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Other than that, how was the week?
And then I got really sick.
Oh.
And I got sent home early. So yeah.
Right on.
It was
not the best week at camp.
not the best.
Well,
But I taught some kids about Jesus.
There
so
you go.
that was
That's what
pretty cool.
matters. That's what matters.
Yeah.
What did I do? I went to work. Sat in my cubicle 8 hours a day. The good life, and
good life.
played some water polo. Had practice every night, so that's been good. Getting ready for our season coming up. 2 weeks ago, we watched USA play Italy at home. That was a super fun
That is
game.
pretty sick.
Yeah, the final score was 13-12, so it was a real nail biter. That was a good game. And then I got to say goodbye to our good friend Kessler, and that made me
Dang.
so sad.
That's rough.
Yeah, he left this morning. Actually, he's on his way to Florida. So
Forecast.
I will miss him dearly. He's been a great friend, and I'm glad to have gotten so much closer with him this year. So that was really, really cool. But
Yeah, rest in peace, Kessler.
yeah. Yeah, he's dead now.
Yeah, he died.
But hey, it's Level Ground podcast time. So, why did we want to start this, Sam?
Well, I think there is just this desire for college kids to be in a community, especially Christian college kids, to just be in a community of just like-minded thinkers. And it's something me and Jeff have seen working at the school, just teaching people about Jesus, just how much we were able to grow our groups and just see what a need there was for it. But also there's just so much, not only misinformation, but also just not enough education about our faith and what we believe and why we believe it. And it's great to see so many young Christians, especially on this campus. And we think it's super important to just teach them about what they need to know to be a Christ-centered individual.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think more than anything it is just helping guide people that, maybe haven't had the experiences that we have or still need help. I'm not trying to come out here and tell people this is the way. These are things that, we deal with day to day. You and I still struggle with, or we have to fight through, being college guys, right?
Yeah.
We're on two different ends of the spectrum, which is super cool, right? You're 19 years old now, coming into your sophomore year.
Yep.
I'm 23, super senior, so
Almost dead.
almost dead. Thank you, appreciate that. But I think it's really cool. We come from two super different backgrounds, right? You grew up in the church. I kind of found Jesus on my own midway through college, with the help of some friends. So that's really awesome. And I just think that we have so much to give and so much to pour out and to, I can't wait to start bringing on people and hearing their stories and really just kind of seeing what strengths that they've developed in their walk with Christ. I think that, you've got some killer strengths, I've got some killer strengths, and when we can put them together, they're unmatched, right? So,
a big part of this podcast is going to be bringing on guests, just a lot of people we know, people we go to school with, and hopefully some other people too that'll just bring in a lot of knowledge and experience and just people we could learn a lot from. So just be excited for that, because it'll start very, very soon. We go back to school in 2 weeks. We're not starting school, but we'll be moved in, so we'll be around people like that we could bring on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've started to develop that list, and I mean, there's some all-stars in there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be a good one.
They don't know they're on the list.
They don't know.
But they'll be on the show.
Yeah.
Mark my words.
Yeah, get excited. So if you're listening on Spotify, you can also tune in on YouTube. Right now I'm looking at you. Boom. We'll be there. We'll be doing this weekly. There might be a couple weeks where we can't get on weekly if, Sam and I are too busy. I'm in full-blown water polo season pretty soon. So, but we're going to do our absolute very best. So follow along. Stay on the check out the Instagram. Turn on post notifications, whatever it takes. Keep up with us. But hey, let's dive right in.
All right, Jeff. What is our first topic?
Week
for
one is
the Level Ground podcast.
Yeah, week one is who are Sam and Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said earlier, I think that we are very, very different in how we grew up in Christian households versus maybe not so much and just like what's our path look like. So just tell me about what it was like growing up in the Held household.
I mean, we went to church every Sunday, just your stereotypical like grown up Christian life, and it was pretty good, and I'm very thankful for the upbringing that I had. But I didn't really start to get serious about my faith until I was about a junior in high school. And that's when I noticed like people were starting to look to me for like, they would be asking me like Bible questions and stuff like that. And I would just realize like, oh shoot, like people are actually listening to me about this stuff, and I should really know my stuff. And so coming to faith, obviously I've questioned it. I've had a lot of just moments where I've been down in my faith, but I think that's honestly a less interesting story than how I decided that I was going to spend the rest of my life teaching people about Jesus. So all throughout my young life, I had multiple people come up to me and be like, yo, you should be like a pastor or something. Like I remember I was on a golf trip with my pastor, my dad, and a couple other old guys from my church when I was 12. And I was in a golf cart with my pastor, and he was like, I could really see you becoming a pastor, Sam. And I was like, no, dude, like, I don't want to do that. Like, I thought he was just being, like, funny, but I know he wasn't now. But so I just had all sorts of influences like that throughout my young life. And as I got older, I honestly moved away even more from like that desire to teach people about God. I tried to find like an out. I didn't want to do it. I love Jesus, but I didn't want to, that's not what I wanted to do with my life. There was so many different careers I considered, but I think perhaps the greatest thing that caused me to have a desire to teach people about God was honestly my path through sports and just all that did for me. So I guess I'll start off with my freshman year of high school. All throughout my young life, I wanted to play football in college. That was like my dream. That was everything I worked towards, and especially shown through my freshman through senior year of football. That's everything I wanted, like the only goal I had in my mind. And I worked very hard at it, but the one thing that kept me back was injuries. And I just remember April of my freshman year, I was jumping on a trampoline and I broke my knee on that trampoline, and that was the major start of my just injury spree. So I broke my knee. I had to get surgery on it. I came back 4 months earlier than I was supposed to so I could play my sophomore season. And then I finished my sophomore season. Every time I took so much as a step, it was just so much pain. And I just thought, it's not that big of a deal. Like, I can walk, so I can play. I just kind of had that mentality all throughout high school. And, after the season, I realized I needed another surgery because it just hurt so bad. And the doctor told me that I actually played through that entire season on a torn patellar tendon. Wow. I was like, oh, well, that explains everything I was feeling.
It's brutal.
And so that was the start of just a 3-year injury spree. For the next 3 years, I never went more than about 2 or 3 weeks without sustaining another injury. And in my young mind, and this is also influenced by a coaching staff that was not in full support of our health, I just thought, well, as long as I can walk, I can play. As long as I can run, I can play. It doesn't matter what I'm feeling. It doesn't matter how much I'm hurting. Like, I can play. And that's the mentality I maintained, and it came back to haunt me big time. I just kept getting injured over and over, different things, sprained ankle, broken finger, broken toe, whatever it may be, concussion. And that continued, and then COVID hit, and I was still practicing, still getting injured. And that's probably the biggest stretch of like the worst injuries I had was I would go to practice like barely being able to walk. And I basically got to this point where my body just couldn't take it anymore. And one day during practice, I dislocated my shoulder and I tore my labrum. And then I realized that that was it for me. I couldn't play football in college. My dream was crushed, or so I thought, because I couldn't tackle anyone anymore without my shoulder dislocating. And that's when I knew that everything I worked towards for the entirety of my high school career was essentially flipped upside down. And I realized that it didn't bring me any sort of fulfillment in the long run. And that really hurt at the time. I thought that everything was for nothing. But then I looked back on the last 4 years, just realizing that just having no clue what to do with my future. And I just tried to find like what brought me happiness. I have to find something else to do with my life now that football's out of the question. So what brought me happiness, and what did I find joy in doing in the last 4 years? And I think in that moment I kind of realized that the number one thing that brought me joy was like not only learning about Jesus myself, but teaching others about Jesus. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I really needed to make a big change and stop focusing so much more on sports and start focusing more on the ministry aspect of my life. I even came to Concordia to do track in hopes that I could continue to do sports, and even that fell through due to an old rugby injury. My sternum is completely messed up now. And now I'm unable to do sports pretty much for the rest of my life. Even things like intramurals I have to be careful with because I sustained so many injuries from high school football. And for a long time I asked God, like, why couldn't I just play football in college? Why couldn't I even do track in college? And looking back on it, I mean, I look at how messed up my body is now, and just from high school football and rugby, and I could only imagine what my body would look like if I went through another 4 years in college, and that would be just insane. So I think in a way God was protecting me from what could have potentially happened. And also God knew that football wasn't what I was supposed to do with my life. My goal in life is to teach people about Jesus, and God knew that, and that's where he led me. So yeah, that's where I am right now, just as a follower of Christ and just as a person. I just want to teach people about God, and this podcast is a big part of it. Our small groups are a big part of it. Athlete Bible study is a big part of it. So I've just really decided to devote my life to this one book in hopes that I could bring a couple people to Jesus.
Dude, it's awesome. Yeah, and your shout message conveyed a lot of that same narrative, right? Like the football injuries and just kind of how that really changed your life for, ultimately for the better. I know it's hard to give up on sports and things like that. I'm not one to talk. I'm still playing, right? But I mean, that's got to be really difficult. But I think, like you said, God had a plan for you, and ultimately, like, that bigger, better plan is going to be super, super awesome. So Stoked for you, man. And I love to hear that story over and over again, and I could listen to it 3 more times. But yeah, that's awesome, dude. Getting to grow up in that Christian household and finding a way to use your faith to overcome adversity. I think that's one of your biggest strengths that I've ever seen, right? Like, injury on top of injury. Like, you came out here to run track and throw shot put, and you had to end up quitting, and that was a conversation that you even came to me and were like, hey, what do you think I should do? And I think you handled it excellent. So I think that's super, super cool. Yeah, my story's a little different. I would say I grew up in kind of a Christian household. I was taught about Jesus, and I believed in him, right? But I don't think I ever really had a relationship with him. I was a kid, and when people would ask me, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. Like, I believe in Jesus. But beyond that, it was just pretty surface level. And, as time went on, I got further and further away from it. We stopped going to church on Sundays just because, I was playing baseball on the weekends, or, my dad's a workaholic. My dad's always working on Sunday mornings. He's always catering to his customers, which, is awesome. My dad's a hardworking dude, so I think it's super cool. But, I just kind of drifted away from it. I would say elementary school, junior high, just kind of fell apart, but fell away from it. And high school, definitely wasn't a part of my life at all. I kind of drifted away from a lot of those morals as well. I was a egotistical water polo player at my high school. I thought I was all that in a bag of chips, right? I thought I was Mr. Cool, and that carried into my early college, actually. So for those of you who do know me, you've probably heard this story. I've given it a shout a couple times now, and even at Athlete Bible Study. But I carried that water polo, like I'm the guy, into my early college years, and that really just was painful for me. I learned quickly that that isn't a sustainable way of living mentally, and it really beat me up. And I fell down a pretty dark path. I mean, I was super depressed for a really long time. When I was at Cal Poly, I wasn't even going to class. I was having a hard time just getting out of bed in the morning, and I'd spend my nights just playing video games with my friends from back home, just trying to do something, right? Try to stay in contact with them. And anyways, didn't even make it through the year. Was dealing with some serious mental health struggle, and had to drop out. I didn't even make it to the end of the year. I left in March after the second quarter, and just kind of wanted to restart. So I went home and did 2 years at our local junior college, which was Merced College at the time. And just kind of history repeated itself. I showed up. I joined the water polo team. I was very, very successful there. I was doing really well, scoring tons of goals, helping my team win games. And
3-time All-American.
Okay, we'll get there. Anyways, was helping my team win games, and it got to my head again. I was like, oh, I'm Mr. Water polo player. I'm super cool, this and that. And just I never really felt satisfied with that. Just was dealing with some serious depression, and it was no good for me. And on top of that, I was in a really toxic relationship. It brought out the bad sides in both of us. We fought like crazy, and it was just not very good. And I just kind of dealt with that into the sophomore year at my JC. And when one day I got dumped on my break at work, and it was really tough. I was bawling, crying in the break room, and my manager went, "Hey, you can take off if you want." I said, "Hey, thank you so much." And as I was walking out, I looked over and I saw Ben, one of my best friend now, but at the time I just kind of acquaintances. We worked together. He was on my water polo team for the first year, but that was the extent of it. And he goes, "Hey, you okay?" And I just shook my head no, and he goes, "All right, I'm gonna come pick you up after work. I'm off at 10 or whatever it was off." And I just nodded my head and I left, and I went home, just sat at home, and 10:15 rolls around, and I get a ding dong on my door, and I walk out, and there's Ben still in his white pants from In and Out, and he goes, "Hop in, let's go." And we went and picked up my buddy Tommy now, and we went to Applebee's, and I just spilled my guts to those guys and just told them everything, like how I was feeling, like all the issues I was going through, like my relationship problems. And normal guys would have been like, "All right, I'm good. I don't want any part of this crybaby right now," right? But no, these guys were awesome. They took me in, and they showed me tons of grace and love and supported me, and we started playing like basketball on the weekends and stuff like that. We'd play tennis. Like, I don't know if you've ever played tennis with guys who don't know how to play tennis. It's hysterical. So it's a real good time. And it was awesome. Like, I just finally had some good friends I could count on, guys who loved me no matter what. And like, I still hadn't figured it out then. I was just like, wow, this is awesome. I get to hang out with these awesome guys. And that was that. And then COVID hit. So that was a big bummer. Had to leave my JC in mid swim season. I was crushing times. I was like so excited. I was doing really good. And the season got canceled. So I was like, all right, I'll just play spike ball every day with these guys. And then our third buddy, Daniel, came home from college because he was at Grand Canyon in Arizona. And then, we had 4. So we just ran spike ball all day long. We'd play best 2 out of 3 with every single person, like for 2 to 3 hours. It was super, super cool. And one day I was just like, why are these guys so awesome? Like, why am I having so much fun with them? And it was because they were just awesome Christian men. And I asked them, I said, hey guys, I don't know Jesus. Like, will you teach me? And, that's when everything happened for me. It was a great experience from then on. They started helping me with Bible studies, just like Bible plans on the app. And, we'd talk about it whenever we'd hang out and stuff like that. And they teach me stories like that I didn't know. It was just super awesome. So I started, and then I kind of just took over on my own, just did Bible plans on my phone, and just did a bunch of reading, watched a ton of videos, tuned into the Becoming Something podcast, which was really, really, really helpful. Just kind of took off from there. And, I got here to Concordia by pure dumb luck. I got recruited to play water polo here. Didn't even realize I was going to just dive into my faith when I got here. God's got a crazy plan, and he hid that in that water polo recruitment. He was just like, you're gonna find out. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. So got here, fell in love with it, just dove into the ministry here, got to know Kessler and Reese really well, and when they were in charge of men's ministry. And the following year I ended up leading one of the men's ministry small groups and starting athlete Bible study with Gunnar, which was super, super cool. And now I'll be serving as the student athlete discipleship liaison. So just big things. God is so cool, and he's got just huge plans that we can't see half the time. And I think it's awesome. I think that I was in the darkest point of my life when he saved me. So I think it's super, super awesome. And for that reason, I've just devoted so much of my life now to teaching people about Jesus, and, specifically like athletes. I just love to teach athletes about it, because I think that there's so much of athletics that you can use for, or you can use Christianity to help you get through the things like tough adversity, injuries, frustration that you deal with teammates or opponents, Definitely. Right? You got to show people love you, and when you don't necessarily agree with them. And I just think that's super cool. And I just can't wait to get into all these different topics that we're going to get into.
Oh yeah. And I think it's really cool. Both me and Jeff came to college for one reason, and we found just this plethora of ministry, just opportunities here that we never expected to find. Yeah. And we didn't even come here expecting to be a part of. So It was really cool to see that in both of our stories. And not only that, but Jeff's story is just so powerful, because he came from just not knowing Jesus at all to just becoming a ministry leader here on campus. So both of our stories, now you know us a little bit, and I'm sure we'll be diving even deeper into those the more episodes we get into. There's a lot of details that we left out, and you'll definitely hear those at some point, but maybe not today.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get into all different kinds of topics. A big one at Athlete Bible Study we like to talk about is identity, right? Mm-hmm. Who are we? So much of what we get wrapped up into is being an athlete. I know that for me that's still the case, and that's something I still have to realize that that's ending really soon for me. And that, I don't know about you, but you had to deal with that recently. You had to
ready for the identity crisis.
Yeah. You're no longer a dedicated athlete. Yeah, you still play sports with all of us. You play Frisbee on Saturdays and all these different things, but it's gonna hit me like a bus. I'm ready for it. Come November, when I play my last water polo game at conference, I'm expecting to just be it's just gonna boom.
Yeah, it hits you like a truck.
Oh yeah, I'm nervous.
There's for any of you who have stopped playing sports and are listening to this, but there's about a 2-month period where you're just completely confused about what to do. You're just I've spent the last however many years of my life playing sports, and now they're just gone, and you have all this extra time that you've got to fill up, and it's just such a weird feeling, but it's a good one, because especially if you find good things to fill that time with. So that's something that Jeff is going to be experiencing real soon.
And on top of it, I won't be a student either.
Yep.
So, oh man, life is going to hit me hard pretty soon. Yeah, thank you. That really helps.
So welcome.
That really helps. Mm-hmm. But no, I've been working this summer, man. I've been grinding at the engineering firm I've been working at as a marketing intern, and learning a lot. The big boy world is crazy. The business world is nuts. So it's exciting though. It's really cool, and there's a lot of opportunities to little plugins for ministry here and there.
Definitely.
I love to bring up when I'm in a group with them. What are you looking at?
See how much time we're into.
Hey, we're gonna go until we're bored of talking to each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's cool. You just throw little plugins there when you're talking to people, and That's I mean, that's really, really cool. But yeah, I'm excited for this year. I think it's gonna be really good. I'm super excited for this podcast. I hope you guys listening are excited. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna have guests on. We're gonna be talking about all sorts of different things. But even then, like, Sam and I are best buds, so we're gonna have a good time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Man,
What should our first topic be, Jeff?
what should our first topic
Let's
be?
decide it
I'm
right
open.
here.
I'm open to suggestions too. So, for those of you listening, follow the Instagram page. Shoot us
Leave
a DM.
comment,
Yeah,
DM.
shoot us a DM. Be like, hey, this is something I'm struggling with, or like maybe me and my friends like have been talking about. What do you guys think about? So like something we talk about, like I said earlier, is identity. Another one, partying. Partying's a big one in the college life, right? We. There's so many opportunities where people go, hey, I'm going to this party this weekend. Are you going to go? And it's pretty hard to be like, no, I'm actually not going to go.
Yep.
I'm not called to that, right? I can't be doing stuff like that. So that's going to be one of our big topics, right? But I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about, and stuff that we still, like I said earlier, we still deal with,
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's the number one thing that sets our podcast apart from the others, is that all the other podcasts are people who are a little older, like maybe late 20s, early 30s, talking about this stuff, but we're in it.
Yeah.
Like, we're experiencing it every day. We're dealing with all of the crap that's going on. I got to watch my language on the Christian podcast. But, it's a lot of stuff that we see in our daily lives, and we can talk about. And, we also understand how hard it can be. So, yeah, just be ready for a lot of that. Anything you guys want to talk about. We literally come up with a different topic every single week for Athlete Bible Study. So we've talked about so many different things. We have experience in a lot of different things. So whatever you guys want to talk about. I think maybe our first topic should be identity, since we're talking about it so much in the first episode. Yeah. So, be ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good one. And it's something that people are going to struggle with. It's something that I still struggle with, learning who I am. And ultimately, like, we're children of God. And that's the most important thing. But yeah, lots and lots of topics to talk about. We got a Bible verse of the week, Sam?
Oh, I think I got a Bible verse of the week.
Let's hear it.
I think we should do our theme verse, which is Psalm 148. Verse what, Jeff?
I think it's 143, verse 10.
Oh, 143, verse 10?
Yeah. Did I memorize it correctly?
I don't think so.
No?
Oh, you were right.
Oh, I was right. Let's talk about that.
I should
Sam.
really
You should really know that. Yeah. Let's talk about level ground.
Yeah. So, Psalm 143:10 says, "Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. May your good spirit lead me on level ground." So, when we were trying to think of names, I thought of some really amazing ones, if I do say so myself. One of them was Stand Firm, or Standing Firm. I was like, man, we got to make this podcast Standing Firm. And then I looked it up.
There was already one.
And there was already a Standing Firm podcast. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So, and then I looked at the theme verse for the day on the Bible app. And
just so
this was
happened
it.
to be.
And I was like, oh, perfect. Level ground it is.
Yeah, I like it. I think level ground is a really good idea in terms of Christianity, because there's so much. I love that one image, that image where it's this raging waterfall over these rocks, and you look in and there's this little pigeon just chilling in there on his nest, or whatever kind of bird it is, and to me that has a very similar idea of level ground, right? Like the world is going to throw us so many different like curveballs and hard things that we're gonna have to deal with, and it's so comforting knowing that with Christ we can stand on level ground to face that planted firm level. I mean, I'm just gonna keep saying leveled ground.
Level ground.
Exactly. I mean, it's perfect. I think that is so much of what we believe, and I mean, that's my story, man. Like, I feel like God helped level out the horrible ground I was walking on for so long. Yeah. What do you think, Mr. Mute over there?
Man, I just got so much to say. I don't know what to say.
Let's just start getting rid of it. Just vomit it out.
Well, I think the first part of this verse, "Teach me to do your will," is perhaps the most important part of it, because doing God's will lead you to level ground, because that is the ultimate foundation that we can have as Christians, is living out God's word and his commandments and just showing others that we live them out as well. And that's infectious. It really is. When you see someone who is living in God's word, you want to be the same way. I've seen it throughout my whole life. Like, first it was my dad. I would see my dad just going to church, singing in church, even something as simple as like recanting the creeds, right? Like, I would see him doing it and I'd be like, oh, I got to do this too. And it's little things like that. Or I'd go to church with my friend, or my friend would invite me to church, and I'd see just how, I'll shout out Caden Chase. Caden Chase, he was my friend in high school. He's a great guy. He would always invite people to his church, like every single day, and he would be so open about it, so enthusiastic about it. And I saw that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to apply this to my life, because he is just getting people to church. He's getting people to learn about God. And so that was just anything like that. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. May your good spirit lead me. We are to be led by the Spirit. We are to be led by the commandments of God, and that is what will bring us to that level ground. Right.
Yeah, and that's going to ultimately bring peace in a ravaging, horrible. I mean, the world is not going to help us out, right? I mean, we're going to talk about that a bajillion times this year. Is that Christianity is not going to make the world any easier? Like, it's not going to make the world more calm, right? It's just going to put us peace within that raging waterfall, like we said. You know, I'd like bring up that picture again. I mean, that bird is just chilling in there, and that waterfall's ripping over that bird. Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think it's gonna bring us that peace, that level ground, like you said. And you know, I like what you said. The Spirit is to lead us, and that's gonna come when you invite the Spirit to live in you and follow God's will.
Yeah. Matthew 7:13-14 says, enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter it by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. So basically, in order to find that level ground, you have to follow that narrow gate, right? You have to be led through it by the Holy Spirit. So another thing I'm going to mention is, anything we say on here, we will back up with Scripture. Like, we're not just going to throw things out there and expect you to believe us. We're going to back it up. And if we don't, then please ask us, and we will, because that just means we missed it. And we promise you we will back it up with Scripture, because we will not say anything that God doesn't want us to say.
Totally. We're not going to throw bad theology you guys' way. We're going to make sure that we're saying things that are true. And you know, luckily for me, I got Sam with me. He is my Bible. He's still helping me learn a lot of the stories and how to be scripturally accurate. But yeah, we're going to do our absolute very best. If we do miss something and you have a question, feel free to DM us on Instagram. We'll shoot you the text that follows with whatever question you may have. But yeah, I like that too, that Matthew verse you just brought up. And we talked about that in men's ministry small group this year. You know, we called it, what would we call it? Path A and B or something like that. You know, path A is what most people walk today, is the partying route, the doing whatever you want route, the not going to church on Sunday route. And it's much easier, right? It's so much easier to just go do whatever the heck you want. But we're meant to walk path B, right? We're meant to go to church on Sunday, be in the house of the Lord, be with the church, be with the people that are like-minded with us and can help us grow. Like we've talked about 100 million times, right? Iron sharpens iron. I think that's come on, help me. Is that
shout out small group?
Is that Hebrews or Romans? Iron sharpens iron. I'll pull it up. Don't worry. But while I'm pulling it up, it's
that's topic number 2, by the way, the importance of community.
Absolutely. Iron sharpens iron verse. Sorry, guys, I should have this ready. Proverbs. It's a Proverbs. Wow, way off. Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens the face his neighbor. Okay, that is what? That's not NIV. Yeah. Here we go. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. that's what we talked about so much in our small group this year is walking path B, being with the people that are going to sharpen you, are going to direct you towards the Lord, being accountable, right? Yeah. Having those accountability partners. That's something that Gunnar and I promised to each other last year, is if we caught each other going the wrong route, or we're doing something incorrectly, or we have the wrong mentality for athlete Bible study, like we're doing it for the wrong reasons, to be like, hey, come on, we're not doing that. That's not the right reasons, and to help get each other back on track. And it's awesome. I wasn't like scared to mess up in front of Gunnar or anything, because like Gunnar has my best interest, which is awesome. That's something that is so important, is being around people that have your best interest in mind and are going to go, hey man, like I love you, and for that reason, like I'm not going to let you keep doing this wrong thing. And then if anything, I should be thankful. I should be like, dude, thank you, Gunnar. I appreciate that for catching me before I slip down a slippery slope, right? And so path B, we got to walk path B. We got to go down that path that is less traveled, harder to travel, and get away from that easy life that the non-Christian walk is, right?
Definitely.
And we're not going to try to convict anybody or condemn anyone for sinning, because guess what? We all sin. We all sin every single day. Sam and I are sinners. What's that? You love to say that. Go for it. We're not sinners because we sin.
Oh yeah,
that one.
We're not sinners because we sin. We sin because we are sinners.
Perfect.
And Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, right?
Yep.
So we fully recognize that. We're going to be talking about both law and gospel, but no matter what, we have to remember that it is Jesus that saves us. Nothing we can do. It is by faith and not works, right? Nothing we can do can lead us to heaven. It is simply accepting the free gift from God, that we are saved and Jesus died on the cross for us. That is our number one priority in every episode. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, again, we're going to be talking about law. We will be talking about right and wrong, what we should be doing as Christians. But I'm just going to keep emphasizing this as much as it needs to be said. Jesus died for us. He saved us, period.
Yep. And we love you guys no matter what. I mean, there's no amount of, like I said, we're not going to condemn you guys. We're not going to sit here and tell you you're bad because you did this, or you're wrong because you did this.
Because we've done a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely. We've made a lot of these mistakes, and luckily we have had good people to help us learn from those mistakes, or help steer us away from those mistakes. So if anything, we want to be those people if you don't have those people, right? We want to be your accountability partners. If you know us on campus, like if you're one of the Concordia people and you're following and you're listening in, like Sam and I, we're your friends. Like, don't be like, there's not one person that's going to come up to me from Concordia that's going to try to talk to me. I'm going to be like, nah, I'm cool. I love all you guys, especially if you're an athlete coming to Athlete Bible Study. I double love you guys, because you guys we've been through it. We started Athlete Bible Study this year. You guys went through the pilot, and boy, is it going to be good this year.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be super duper awesome. But I mean, I think with that being said, that might wrap us up here for Level Ground Podcast episode number 1.
Yep.
# Who Are Jeff and Sam?
Sure.
That won't be the title. That won't be the title.
Yeah.
We'll figure out a better one than that.
Our title will be Introduction, I think.
Sure.
That's a great one.
Sure.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for listening in. Please come back for episode 2.
Yeah, please come back.
You away.
Yeah, no. I hope you guys had a good time. We're usually gonna start out a little goofy, just kind of get loose, and then we'll start diving into topics. But I think we're gonna pray to end each episode.
Yes.
So you want it, or you want me to go?
I'll do it.
Go for it.
First prayer.
Close us out.
All right. Dear Lord, thank you so much for just this podcast and hopefully what it will become. I pray that no matter what, you just let me and Jeff do your will above all else, and help some people listening to this to learn some things. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.